Dr. Barry, London News, Melbourne. The media are great propagandists. They're nothing more than the tool of the government. I'm just trying to show you a few clips from the millennium, the turn of the century, for the young people who don't know, 2000, when all the media were coming out and saying that all the computers are going to crash, airplanes are going to fall out of the sky. Just have a look at this clip. It's better than me explaining it, it's self-explanatory.
At the stroke of midnight, January 1st, 2000, elevators may stop. Heat may vanish. Credit cards and ATMs may cease to function. Airplanes and trains may come to a halt.
People were terrified the world was going to end.
This is not one of the summer movies where you can close your eyes during the scary parts.
With nearly everything in our economy run by computers, the prospect of a digital meltdown is too huge to contemplate.
I was worried because the whole computer game was new to us, and I was a little ignorant.
We didn't know what we didn't know.
And many thought what we didn't know was going to hurt us.
I've got a revolver right now, but I wanted something more.
That was a Dragon's Breath shell. It can shoot a 4,000-degree flame 300 feet. It's also the most popular ammunition among Y2K customers at KGS Guns and Ammo.
There was a fear. Everything's in the internet, everything's in computers, and we're gonna lose it all. And Jesus is coming back.
With pre-millennium tensions growing, the president appoints a crisis management expert to prevent a Y2K meltdown.
8 to 10% of the population were fairly confident that this was going to be an apocalypse. The president called me one night and said, here's an office and an assistant, and don't let the world stop.
We're not all going to be okay. We'll be driving around in little electric cars and nowhere to charge them. And if we're lucky, with all this green energy crap, there'll be no electricity to charge them anyway. So anyway, if you vote for Labour, it's a vote for this crap. Have a look at this programme. Excellent.
I'd like you to spare a thought for Mrs. Kafoops. It's 2030 and half of Australia's cars are now electric thanks to aggressive climate change policies pursued by the Labor governments of Bill Shorten and Tanya Plibersek. Mrs. Kafoops, who lives not far from here in Ryde in northwest Sydney, switched to an electric car in 2025 because she had no real choice. Petrol cars were taxed to high heaven, which was a real bummer for tradies and farmers. Mrs. Kafoops only needed a little car. She calls it her $60,000 Norwegian sewing machine on wheels to go to the shops, or like today, take her grandkids to the beach. But, plus, there were special electric-only lanes on most roads nowadays in 2030, and most parking spaces are reserved for electric-only vehicles. So Mrs. Kafoops had no real choice. And like most of her friends, the cost of the car had wiped out her savings. A decade ago, Labor had snatched her franking credits worth thousands and given her a tax cut worth a tin of tuna. Unfortunately, at her retirement village, there were only 12 recharging stations for 50-plus vehicles, so everybody has to take turns to charge their cars. Today, Mrs. Kafoops had to get up early. She set her alarm for 3:30 in the morning so that she could get a good 6 hours worth of charging to see her through the weekend. But Labor's latest ELM, energy load management policies, Mrs. Kafoops still calls them blackouts, but her son tells her that's politically incorrect, means that you can never be sure when the electricity will be switched on or off in your suburb. The government says it's a random process, but somehow or other, Mrs. Kafoops suspects the blue ribbon suburbs seem to have their electricity switched off more often than the Labor ones. Sure enough, at 6 a.m, the power goes down, so Mrs. Kafoops only has half a charge worth of battery when her grandkids arrive. Mrs. Kafoops was keen to take them down to their favourite freshwater beach for the day and had phoned up and booked a table for 4 at the kiosk there, including 1 hour's worth of recharging, just in case. Like everybody these days, the constant stress of knowing you have adequate charge is just a fact of life, because you're always running out. But the trip to the beach takes a little longer than she planned. There was an FB in the Lane Cove Tunnel, that's a flat battery, and all the traffic piles up. As always, one FB tends to lead to several more FBs. The NRMA's fleet of mobile diesel turbochargers are flat out rushing around, making sure they can charge all those flat batteries, but of course all the other traffic has to give way to them. Crawling through the tunnel, Mrs. Kafoops clenches her teeth as she watches her own charge slipping away. After 30 minutes in the tunnel, she switches off the radio, switches off the aircon, and lets the kids swelter in silence. By the time they get to Freshwater, she knows that she's missed her booked 1 hour of charging at the kiosk, so she's got no choice. She has to go to McDonald's over in Mona Vale, where they happen to have free charging for customers for 1 hour. Her luck was in. Just as she gets there, there's one free charger, but just at that moment, some bastard sneaks in and grabs it from her, flipping her the bird. So, for the next couple of hours, Mrs. Kafoops and the kids sit there at Macca's with the kids going crazy, waiting for their turn to charge their car. Eventually, she gets 20 minutes of battery turbocharging. But of course, Mrs. Kafoops knows from bitter experience that the more often you turbocharge your battery, you ruin that battery's life. Only last year, she had to put in yet another new battery, which cost her over $3,000. The kids don't believe her when she tells them that she used to be able to fill up her Corolla in 5 minutes at the local gas station. All this effort, Mrs. Kafoops thinks to herself, is for naught. China now emits more CO2 in a day than Australia saves in an entire month. They finally get to the beach at 3:30 in the afternoon, but Mrs. Kafoops knows that they've got to leave at 4:30 to miss the afternoon rush hour. The kids only get a quick 15-minute swim before it's time to get back into their little sewing machine car. She tries to cheer them up by promising them that when they get home, they'll be able to watch their favourite movie on the telly. But as they walk into her beautiful little apartment, the lights fail to come on. Mrs. Kafoops sighs wearily. Welcome to Bill Shorten's Australia 2030.
And thank you to the people who subscribed in Denmark and in Japan, and in fact everybody who subscribed. It's just an appreciation that you enjoyed or learned something from this. I'm not doing this for money, I'm doing this to get that message out there. We have to change our ways. We've lost all our freedoms, have gone. There's nothing left. Kids played in the street one time. They're gone. We had freedom. It's gone. It's an illusion. We're owned and controlled by UN and the EU. So please subscribe, share the message, and thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye for now.